In this episode, I'm reviewing Season 7, American Horror Story Cult. Now, Season 7 of American Horror Story Cult premiered September 5th, 2017, and concluded on November 14th, 2017. Season 7 ran for 11 episodes, and it stars Evan Peters and Sarah Paulson. And this season talks about a cult that forms after the events of the 2016 presidential election, where Donald Trump is the winner. And a society where things happen after he's elected president. Yeah, they went with that story. I was curious as to know what and how this season would go. The good thing about this season is that they kind of did dive deep into other cults like Charles Manson and Jim Jones, but they really focused on what, the world or the US was like after the events of the 2016 election. I did not like this season at all. I feel like it's the worst season of American Horror Story that I have seen. Now, granted, Evan Peters is the one that stood out in this season, and he gives one hell of a performance. He plays Kai, he plays Jim Jones, he plays Charles Manson, he even plays Jesus and Marshall Applewhite and David Koresh. So oh my God, Evan Peters did a fantastic job in this, and Sarah Paulson is the, goody two-shoes American housewife like that. And we also have a cameo from Twisty the Clown from season 4 Freak Show, who appears in some more of a comic book type thing where one of Sarah Paulson's characters, her kid, is reading a comic book, and he has this fear of clowns, and I guess his escape is comic books and stuff like that. But not only does it pick up on cults, it also picks up on certain fears that Sarah Paulson's character has with seeing holes in little things. Of course, you know what I mean if you're afraid of that kind of stuff. And it's just interesting because it takes place during the 2016-2017 year, and it centers on a cult terrorizing residents in a small town after, like I said, the presidential election. And it just goes on. And there's one scene that starts off right from the beginning on the very first episode, where Sarah Paulson is watching the results of the presidential election, and they announce that Donald Trump has won, and all of a sudden you hear her scream in agony, like, holy shit, now what? What's going to happen to this country? The teaser trailers that are always before the American Horror Story seasons are much better than the actual seasons, and this one is for that matter. We didn't understand what we were getting, we didn't understand what was happening, and the only thing that actually worked kind of in this, I want to say, season was who was in the cult, why they were brought into the cult, and what happens. And there are a lot of twists and turns. When you think this season is over, they just throw a wrench at it, and something happens, and it's really interesting how it's done. Sarah Paulson's character in the end is really, really competitive and really, really strong, and she becomes her own in a way where she fights Evan Peters' Kai character, and just does all this crazy shit. And when you think one thing's going to happen, something else happens. So like I said, for the time, they should have maybe went with the Charles Manson story or the Jim Jones story, by actually focusing on that for the entire season, but not just putting tidbits and flashes of here and there of showing what those cults were and what they did. And it was all over the place, and I didn't enjoy it like I thought I would. So for me, season 7 American Horror Story Cult gets 1 out of 5 stars. The only thing that actually worked in this was the twist near the end of the season, and that was it. Other than that, this season fell flat on its head, and I wanted to like it, but like I said, if they actually did where they actually went with a cult, meaning like the Charles Manson story or the Jim Jones story, it would have been much better, and not just showing us tidbits. So let me know in the comment section below what you thought about Season 7 American Horror Story Cult. Did you like it? Did you not like it? And what did you think of it? And now that I reviewed it, will you be checking it out? I'm Anthony. Thanks for tuning in.